I have no apologies, but just noting Councillor Simpson is joining us online. Kia ora, Councillor Simpson. I'll call for any conflicts of interest. There being none, we have no public forum today. Any announcements by Her Worship? There being none, I will call for any minor matters not on the agenda anyone would like to discuss. There being none, any management updates?
Kia ora. I just wanted to take a little minute to give you a sort of a high-level update on where we are in the establishment of the Enterprise Project Management Office, or the EPMO. So we, as you know, we developed a business case on establishing an EPMO for Napier City to support better project and program delivery for our capital and our improvement and technical projects. And the business case developed came up with a recommendation to ELT, which was developing what's called a hub and spoke model of an EPMO to start with. So that's having a core smaller team who are established the EPMO and supporting all of the other delivery arms across council. So we have delivery arms in infrastructure, in corporate services, and in our community area, and also in my own directorate in city strategy. All of those areas are delivering projects, and the EPMO will operate as a hub in terms of being able to support and provide governance and advice to that project delivery and program. And so that EPMO would be established of 4 positions to start with, one being an EPMO manager, a program specialist, and a change lead, and a portfolio analyst. So those roles sort of reflect the skills that you would expect to see in an EPMO around being able to manage significant portfolio of delivery. And we established also a uplift program over an 18-month period, so 4 phases of an uplift program over 18 months. And the first phase of that was to identify some quick wins. What are some of the things that we can do immediately now to try and support project delivery better? And that quick win work has largely been done. And another one of our early pieces of work was to, of course, recruit the team and get that established. And just on the quick wins, one of the quick wins that we are establishing is a project initiation process. So this is an opportunity for us to fully understand and flesh out what a project, what an initiative might be that might be approved as a project. What are the benefits and outcomes? What is the funding? What is the approach that we would take? How does it align to your priorities within council, so that we actually have some good control over the projects and programs that we are initiating. And the idea is that over time, that initiation process will ensure that we do really good project delivery, because we've fully understood the project right from the outset. And then in terms of developing the team, I'm pleased to say that we've appointed the EPMO manager. He will be starting with us on the 12th. He is quite a seasoned leader in program delivery. He has established and run EPMOs, and he's worked in the private sector and in central government with program and portfolio frameworks for project delivery. He's also quite an influential leader, and so understands, which is really important for the EPMO, understands how to lead through influence. And his name is Bruce Lake, and he has been working in Wellington for many years, but lives, or just recently has lived in Napier, so he's here and local. And the remaining 3 positions will be going out for recruitment soon, and those positions have been funded from existing vacancies. And the other thing I just wanted to mention is we've established a community practice. That's what I want to say. This is that recognising that we have all of these delivery arms across council. they are somewhat siloed in terms of their delivery. So we've created this community of practice of project managers. They're called a PTAG, or a Project Technical Advisory Group. And that group is already up and running and influencing a lot of the improvement work that we are looking to do across council around project and program delivery. So that's sort of where we're at. Once Bruce starts, I'll bring him along and introduce him to you, and of course more detailed updates will be provided to you. But at a governance level, I know that you're probably just wanting the results, but I'm wanting to sort of update you on what we're establishing to get those results to you. Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rachel. I'll ask if there's any questions on the management update. Councillor Price.
Are they new positions you're talking about, or are they changing some positions we have?
Yeah, they're new positions in terms of job description, but we've repurposed vacant existing positions. Yeah.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Rachel. It's nice to get an update on those business improvement initiatives in the Directorate. I will move on to confirmation of minutes. May I have a mover that the minutes of the future Napier committee meeting held on the 20th of June be taken as a true and correct record? Moved by Councillor Gregg, seconded by Councillor Mawson. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Carried. All right, we'll move into our agenda items. Up first, we have our resource consent activity update, and I'd like to welcome Nick McCool to join us. Welcome, Nick.
Thank you. So this report covers the period from 7 June to 16 July. Since the April update, there has been a 37% decrease in the number of applications being received compared to the same period 12 months prior. There has, however, been an increase in the number of pre-application meeting requests received, and this week has been a strong week for lodgements. The mix of application type remains consistent, and in the last 6 weeks, all resource consents were issued within statutory timeframes with an average of 25 processing days, and we have utilised Section 37 to extend those timeframes as required. Below are the more interesting applications, and I'll go through those now. So 46 Erickson Road in Te Awa. The level of the site is required to be increased above that previously granted. And I will go into a little bit more information around that application. Peerless Avenue, to subdivide the site into 30 separate residential lots, part of Parklands. That application remains under assessment. It's an NCC application. 149 Awatoto Road, that also remains under assessment. The NCC application for 250 Westminster Avenue to increase fill to raise ground levels was granted on the 12th of July. Number 530 State Highway 51 is under assessment, and Kennedy Road, the digital billboard, remains under assessment. 15 Owen Street, multi-unit development for 24 units, was granted on the 4th of July. Cray Street remains under assessment. 68 Franklin Road, 59 lot subdivision. The applicant has paid the public notification deposit, and that was in Hawke's Bay yesterday. So you may have seen the advertisement. It's at the end of the World section of the newspaper. So yeah, that notification period has commenced, and that will end in 20 working days. 11 Lever Street, we've followed up with a formal letter reminding of the applicant of the general obligation to avoid unreasonable delays, and requesting either the payment of the notification deposit or the withdrawal of the application. Number 162 Waghorn Street, a new application has been lodged, this time at subdivision only, and we understand that as that progresses, the existing application for demolition will be withdrawn. And number 3 to 5 Laurie Terrace, that application is currently under assessment. So in regards to number 46 Erickson Road, there's a diagram there of the site, most likely aware of it. In essence, the application is looking to raise the ground levels, so they're looking to import an additional 6,975 metres cubed of fill material across the site. That gives a total revised fill volume of 31,000 metres cubed. So that's the previously consented and the new volume. It is a reasonably large site. The current variation/change seeks a finished ground level of RL 11.8, previously 11.2 in the granted consent. And by doing this, they'll avoid a Section 73 notice under the Building Act. The existing ground level ranges between RL 10.6 to 11.7. So, yeah, the ground level is already around that 10.6 to 11.7. So it's not, some areas it's going up by about a metre, other areas it's going up less. And new buildings are to have a minimum floor level of 12.08, previously 11.58. Apart from the quantum of earthworks and the change in site levels, all other aspects of the previously granted resource consent remain the same, so the roads, widths, layout all remains the same as that previously granted. And being a variation or a change, that application is a discretionary activity in accordance with the Resource Management Act. And that is all for that 6-week period. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Nick, for the report. So, elected members will see our recommendation in front of us is to note the Resource Consent Activity Report from the 7th of June to the 16th of July. If there are any questions, Councillor Gregg.
Yes, thank you, Nick. Just a question of clarification. When you talk about minimum floor levels of 12.08 metres, is that above sea level?
Yes, the RL is a fixed datum point, and I believe it is around sea level. We'd have to check to see exactly where that point is in relation to Hawke's Bay, but effectively the current ground level is already around the 10, it ranges between 10.60 and 11.70, so even at 12.08, that is only, in some areas it's only less, not even a metre, other areas it's a metre above the current ground level.
Thank you.
Councillor Bogue, followed by Councillor Taylor.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question about what is being built on Ericsson Road, whether it's a retirement village or what sort of development it is?
Yes, you can ask what the nature of the application is.
Thank you.
Through the chair, looking at the layout in front of us, it shows residential allotments. So standard residential dwellings.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, in relation to Ericsson Road, with the increase of fill that's there, is there conditions around dust? Because we've had issues with fill going to Parklands and all of the trucks there needed to be covered and watering. So are there conditions on the resource consent that need to be modified at all in relation to this particular subdivision with bringing in the increase of fill?
This consent was originally granted a little while back, so I'm not 100% sure what the conditions were imposed. And the application is currently under assessment. It's not been processed by myself, so I'm not 100% sure on what conditions are proposed, but that will certainly, any application involves importation of fill material dust management is considered. Yeah, it'll be appropriately considered through the processing of that consent application.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no further questions from councillors, Nick, I just had a comment from an elected member after reading the report, which I thought might be valuable to pass on. Those who don't work in the consenting or regulatory space, we thought it might be useful when we're using terms like 25 working days total processing time, that we clarify that that includes, for instance, any on-hold days, because I think elected members are well aware of the requirement for the 20 working days processing, but when we see an average processing day of 25, for instance, unsure why it would be over the 20. So I just wanted to provide that feedback, that if there was an opportunity to give a little bit more context sometimes when we're talking about planning mechanisms like that, it could be beneficial for elected members.
Yes, don't completely understand any of those timeframes exclude on-hold days, so they're only the active processing days. As you'll see, some of the consents on this list have been with council for a number of months, but are generally on hold, so the processing days aren't progressing. And yes, you're quite right, the average is over the standard 20, and that's why we utilise Section 37 through working with developers who agree Section 37s, or in some cases, if the application is of a high enough complexity, we can increase that time period to a maximum of 40 working days. So, for example, 68 Franklin Road is one that you'd likely increase the processing days to 40 rather than the standard 20, because it would be very difficult to process an application of that nature in 20 working days, just due to the complexities associated.
And could I just ask a question, because I think what might be a relevant measure for us, I guess, in terms of keeping an eye on tracking performance, essentially, is whether or not any applications have been processed outside of statutory timeframes and therefore have a requirement for discount off processing fees. Rachel.
I can answer that. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So in your financial quarterly report, we report on the KPIs for regulatory consents and processing days. So in that report is where you would expect to see if we have exceeded legislative timeframes that would be reported against. I think what Nick's trying to provide you here is sort of more of a customer view of what is our average processing days, but not related to the legislative timeframe. It's more of what would be our average processing days, together with all of those legislative allowances for extensions that are provided under the Section 37 provisions. So I think he's just trying to be helpful in terms of giving you a sense of what things are taking generally. Yeah.
Thank you, Rachel. That's really helpful. Councillor Bowe.
Right, I have another question. Thank you, Madam Mayor, through you, about the subdivision. The names of the roads, what's the process? Perhaps Rachel might be able to help us. What's the process in naming those new roads?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, there is a process, as you know, and it is a council decision, but usually a developer will do pre-engagement with either community or mana whenua, and then they will submit a proposal to council. Officers consider that a proposal. They will consult, also ensure that there has been consultation with mana whenua and make sure that that process has been followed, and then they'll bring a paper to you for a decision on street naming.
Thank you.
All right, if I don't have any further questions, I'll ask for a mover to the motion. Moved by Councillor Taylor, seconded by Councillor Crystal. Do you wish to make any comment? Councillor Crystal? Open the floor. If there's no further comment, I will move the officer's recommendation. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to our second paper, which is our Section 10A Annual Dog Control Report, and I'd like to welcome Luke Johnson and David White. Kia ora, welcome.
Kia ora. So the purpose of this report is obviously satisfying our obligations under Section 10A of the Dog Control Act to report on the registration year of 2023-2024 on our policy and our activities. So, and obviously we're asking for you just to adopt this and allow council then to notify this report in accordance with the Act, which is essentially to make it public. So I'll just briefly touch on some of the statistics that we've noted in this report, that registration numbers are up by over 1,000 or just under 1,000 for the last year, or 2022-23 year, 23-24 year, sorry. The number of dangerous dogs and menacing dogs have decreased over that time, and infringement notices are also up by approximately 25 to 30%. And overall, the number of complaints you'll see there have also increased by a small amount. So if I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Luke, and David, for the work you do on the ground. It is much appreciated by the table. I will open it up if we have any questions on our annual report. Councillor Gregg.
Yes, through the chair. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Just a question of clarification. The 1,000 more dogs registered in this year. Do we have any idea of why? I mean, is it unregistered dogs now being registered, or is it actually new dogs, or do we not know?
Well, just through the chair, it was perhaps the first opportunity we had to go to the community and follow up on unregistered dogs this year, considering the floods and other events we've had in our community. There really hasn't been the appetite previously for this, and so we went out to the community and visited over 700 addresses in regard that had not been registered.
Thank you. Councillor Bogue.
Through you, Madam Mayor. This is outside the report, but I just wondered what the uptake was for dog registrations from this financial year, how things are progressing with that.
Currently, we have about 1,000 dogs registered. 7,000 dogs registered. And we're in the last period before the penalty is added on the 5th of August. And this is usually the period they all come in. So we're actually in quite a good position at the moment, and I'd expect us to be. We tend to bring in about that 1,000 registrations a year through the work we do in the community. So if we get to that 7,800, I'd be pleased, and we look on track at this time.
Lovely, thank you.
Great. I'm looking around the room. I'm not seeing a whole lot more questions. Thank you for the report. I think it's always really good to see some of those trend lines going in the right direction, especially around those menacing dogs, because that has an impact, obviously, on our community at the coalface, and registrations are always good as well. So good work in that space. I will ask for a mover for our officer's recommendation around adopting the Napier City Council annual dog control report, and noting that that report will go to the Secretary for Local Government. Moved by Councillor McGrath and seconded by Councillor Crown. Councillor McGrath.
Thank you, Mayor Brosnan.
Mayor Brosnan.
Mr.
Following along.
Mr. Deputy.
I'd just like to acknowledge that the work that our animal control team does. It's a 24/7 team, and they're often not heading to deal with people with little white fluffy dogs. It's the other extreme that they have to deal with. They often work with the police. It's hard yakka, and our team are extremely caring and look after these dogs, look after the people, do their best for our community. Through government changes and legislation, I'd just like to acknowledge it is hard, and our team do a great job.
Hear, hear. Well said. Councillor Crown.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really tautoko what Councillor McGrath said. I've been privy to spend a little bit of time actually in the dog control office, and understanding, not the pound, dog control office, and getting a sense of the interactions that they have daily. I think if we look at the number of complaints in the recorded in the report, that actually equates to about 7 complaints a day that they are dealing with, 365 days a year. So it is one of the areas that I often get questioned by residents about, what does your dog team do, and why does registration cost so much? Well, actually, when you reflect on the level of service that is being provided through this activity, I think it's really clear that it is good value for our residents, for our ratepayers. So thank you to the team.
Thank you very much, Councillor Crown. Just for myself, I would support all of those comments. Having this activity sit within the Directorate, you often hear about some of the case-by-case examples of things that the team is going to, and I don't think it can be understated how often you do need to work with our police force in the work that you do, and that really does speak to the huge public safety sort of component to undertaking this activity. So thank you. If there are no further speakers, I will put the motion. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
the latest date to pay?
Councillor Price would like to know what the latest day to pay his dog registration is. If someone could note to advise him of that
Someone
offline.
just text me.
5 o'clock today.
White fluffy dogs.
I think we should have a
5 o'clock.
owners.
All right. Public service announcement. It is 5 o'clock today. If anyone has not paid their dog registration, it is 5 o'clock today. You may do so online.
Get on to that.
All right. We will move on to our final paper, which is the Emerson Street Upgrade Concept Design paper, and we would like to welcome Georgina, and I have Stephanie as well, and Joe. Welcome, ladies.
Kia ora koutou. This report seeks to endorse the endorsement from Council for the concept design of the upgrade of Emerson Street, which you approved funding for in the 3-year plan. We're also seeking Council's approval to proceed to develop and detail design of, which is the next design phase, for stages 1 and 2, so as to ensure financial sustainability is achieved by combining the wastewater pipe renewal with the streetscape upgrade, to improve resilience and sustainability through increasing the stormwater filtration and collection capacity of Emerson Street, and to improve the safety and accessibility of Emerson Street, our city's prime retail street. So the concept design before you today focuses on the overall vision for Emerson Street and the key design moves proposed as part of the upgrade, including road layout, general function of the street, position of infrastructure, and the general look and feel of the street. It's important to note that the features such as seating and lighting shown are indicative only, as they help to define the space. The focus of the design itself has always been about the key moves, traffic circulation, direction, operational options. So the develop design phase is the next step, and that takes the concept further, refining and specifying all the aspects of the design, including the street furniture, lighting, materials, dimensions, and construction methods. So I'm happy to take the paper as read, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of salient points. The upgrade of Emerson Street was first identified in 2017 in our City Vision framework. It was seen as an important initiative for our CBD to improve infrastructural resilience, to provide a safer, more accessible inner city, and to upgrade Napier's main retail street, recognising that it's been 35 years since Emerson Street last received significant investment. The project objectives are threefold: to improve the infrastructural resilience and sustainability of Emerson Street by replacing the aged wastewater pipe, which date back to pre-earthquake days, and introducing rain gardens to improve stormwater quality, increase treatment collection capacity, and enhance the heat resilience of the street in response to climate change by increasing natural shade. Secondly, to ensure financial sustainability by combining the wastewater network renewal with the streetscape upgrade. And thirdly, to improve safety and accessibility of our city's main retail street through operational flexibility and designing to universal standards throughout the length of Emerson Street. These project objectives are important as they ensure that we are able to deliver on Council's vision of enabling places and spaces where everybody wants to be. And underpinning Council's vision are 5 strategic priorities: a financial sustainable council, a resilient city, nurturing authentic relationships with our community and partners, spaces and places for all, and a great visitor destination. And Emerson Street Upgrade meets all of these. And should it be helpful, I can elaborate on how the upgrade aligns with those strategic priorities, should you wish. So what we're seeking today from Future Napier Committee is endorsement of the concept design for the entire length of Emerson Street, and approval to proceed into develop design for stages 1 and 2, noting that this will ensure simultaneous design of our Three Waters infrastructure within Emerson Street can be achieved, and that further stakeholder engagement will take place during develop and detail design, which will incorporate a heritage review and a universal design audit. Throughout the future design stages, the design team will also continue to work in collaboration with our Three Waters team. So if you have any questions.
Thank you very much, Georgina and team. I will open it up for questions to start with. We have any, Councillor Bogue and then Councillor Crystal.
Thank you very much. It's really good also to have the strategic priorities incorporated into this project. That's really great. On page 17 on the financial, you mentioned the 10.2 million was set aside in our 3-year plan, and on top of that, 1.65 million from the Better Off funding. So are those two combined?
No, they are separate.
Okay, so the final cost is 10.2 million?
And the design, a lot of the Better Off fund is actually what's funding the total design and also the pre-engagement and consultation that we have undertaken. And then the remainder will go towards stage 1, implementation of stage 1.
Do you anticipate this price increasing over the period of time when this is being developed?
We will be designing through the develop and detail design, we will be designing to the budget that we have.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Crystal.
I've got a few questions through the chair. The urban designers that did this design, what brief were they given, and were Heritage Architects, the Art Deco Trust or Heritage Hawke's Bay consulted before commencing any design work?
So the brief that the design team were given was to undertake a design which considers the entire length of Emerson Street. It was to incorporate and complement the infrastructure work that is going on or if there is any needed down Emerson Street. And it was to work with and engage with stakeholders. So Council undertook a pre-engagement consultation in November and December. We also have a steering group which has 14 representatives on which you will see in the paper, and includes 2 of our elected members. And we have also been undertaking internal and external engagement with stakeholders. So part of those stakeholder groups do include those people that you referenced, but they have not been specifically separated out. They are part of our key stakeholder group.
But they weren't actually consulted with before the design was done, was it?
Before the design was done?
Well, with the designers.
Yes, they have met with the designers.
So Heritage Architects were involved in helping with?
We do not have Heritage Architects on our design team, no. So they're urban designers and landscape architects and engineers.
Okay. And then what is a concept plan?
I'm sorry. Through the chair.
Yeah.
So a landscape architect and urban designer, which George and I are both landscape architects and urban designers, and our team is made up of landscape architects and urban designers. So it's part of their job is to consider the space in its entirety. So, and it was actually in the design brief that they were asked to consider the Art Deco heritage, but it is something that is sort of a given that an urban designer and a landscape architect would be considering it in their design. So it's not something that would need to be spelled out to that design team. Yeah.
Okay. And so just for clarity about that through the chair, sorry, what a concept plan, we've got this concept plan. What we've seen in this plan, I know you've kind of said that, but is that like the positioning, and is that where things will appear on the street? Because I know there were some things we talked about in workshops that are still in the plan that have not come out. Some of the features, the deciduous trees, which is, anyone will tell you that's probably not the best idea in a main street. Things like that. So what we see, how much say then happens in the next design bit?
So the concept design, those features, if you like, so lighting and seating, they've been shown in the drawing so that you can understand how the spaces will work. Where the final position goes will actually be undertaken in consultation with those retailers and businesses as well, and also with our stakeholders. So that includes the heritage architects and the historic places that you're referring to earlier. But the actual operation and the direction of flow, all of those key moves are what the concept design identifies. And then the developed design is what materials we'll be using, what tree species we will be putting in, what seats how many seats, what they might look like, what they might be made from. So all of that detail comes through in the next phase.
Okay. I have another question. I know you met last week with some of our heritage people and stuff, because there was a couple of things that I didn't pick up in the initial plan, like moving the Boer War soldier. So what was the feedback on that from our heritage people?
They actually were very supportive of it. So the Troopers Memorial wasn't in its original location. It was actually shifted. And we got very strong endorsement that we should reinstate it and also reorientate it so that it faces the correct way. But we need to go through a process in order to do that, and that involves working with and consulting with the RSA as well as our heritage teams. Yes.
And did you have other feedback from them about the concept plan?
Yeah, so in that meeting we had we had Anne Galloway and Elizabeth Pisheaf, as well as Heritage Hawke's Bay Art Deco Trust. And I should point out that moving forward, they will be a group that we engage with every quarter. There was some feedback around the tree species that were going to be used, and so we've taken that on board and we'll be working through that. The Troopers Memorial definitely was as you've mentioned, something that they were endorsing. But in general, it was just, I guess they were happy that they were being involved at this point in time.
Just through the chair, just to add to that, I just think it's really important to know that Elizabeth's conservation plan and her has been in a document that has been really important and core to the project. So those heritage items, and our very first meeting with the design team was the first person they met with was with Fleur, who'd been heavily involved with Elizabeth. So it was very strong in our brief that was really important to us, and so they've spent quite a lot of time looking at the heritage of Napier and Elizabeth's documentation.
Thank you, ladies. I've got a question, Councillor McGrath.
Yes, through the chair. You've triggered me. You said about consultation with the RSA. Well, a good few years ago, I asked that question, have the RSA been consulted around the War Memorial? And I was told, yes, they have. And it came to fruition that no, they hadn't. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting here, and there's probably a few of us here sitting a little bit triggered that we want to touch, modify, or look at what is essentially one of our war memorials. I would need a hell of a lot of assurance that it's either going back to where it came from, not some new space, and that a whole lot of people outside this room have ticked a box to say, yes, this is the appropriate thing to happen, including the RSAs or the whoever, whatever groups. I would need some really good assurance, because I think we started that project in about 2014 or 15, and to be honest, it's still going on. So to sit here and see a picture of a memorial moved, man, I'd be happy to throw this whole project out if we don't do this right.
Through you, Chair, Madam Chair. We have been working quite closely with Michael Fowler on the Troopers Memorial, who has undertaken some work in terms of original maps of where the Troopers Memorial was originally located, how it was oriented, and also given us a significant background on the decision-making around it at the time. So it was the Troopers Memorial's head and body fell off in the earthquake, and the head disappeared for quite some number of years, which they found in 1938. And where the Troopers Memorial was originally at the top of Emerson Street, it was seen as a traffic nuisance and was moved to where it is, and it was used to face east and now it faces south. So we are very clear about the fact that that memorial is going back where it would have been, based on all of the work that we've done to date on the history of that memorial.
You follow up?
Yep, follow up. And just thank you for that. And I think a little bit of a note is to get our comms team on board very early on and let our community know what and why rather than it just turn up and happen. I think this is a major part of what we are doing here. But I've got a couple of other questions. And one of them is, are any of the Pahuta kawa trees being harmed in the making of this?
No.
Good. And my last one for now is when we make changes like this, I think we tend to forget one important aspect, and that's our emergency services. We've heard with some of our other streetscape that we've done is they're struggling to get their vehicles through, and the likelihood is that the fire engines will actually be bigger in the future if we're going to have buildings of height. So I'd also like an assurance that our emergency services have had some input to this and perhaps run a measuring tape across it to tell me that they can get their vehicles down the road. Nothing of height's going to impinge them if we're going across the road, and that they can actually manoeuvre their vehicles.
Yes, absolutely.
Through the chair. So as part of probably what you can't see with the concept design, we've spent a lot of time working with our transportation team and also the traffic engineers from Becca. And so all of those things have been considered in the traffic circulation. So.
Yeah, and again, that's fine, but I'm guessing we've done that in the past also, and we have current hazards that have probably got through that system. So I'd like an assurance that that these vehicles are going to be able to get down the street.
Thank you, councillors. Noting some more questions just from myself, because I'm hearing some sort of themes of concern around the table. So, question from me: heritage review will be undertaken who by?
We were going to be working with the team, the group that we met with the historic places. So we were expecting that heritage review would be undertaken with Elizabeth Persheaf and Anne Galloway.
Okay. Thank you. Am I correct in saying that the detailed design stage, our next stage, will include further workshops with elected members on detailed design?
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Those were my two for now. I had Councillor Bogue and then Councillor Brown.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. The city's homeless frequent Emerson Street quite regularly, and I wondered if you have taken them into consideration in your project and in what way.
So we're working with Napier Assist, and also we've been coordinating and liaising with our reserves team, who have got a lighting strategy that they're currently undertaking. And we've also been working with Michelle Gregg, who was previously in the community services team. She's now shifted. So yes, that work is happening in parallel to this project, but we are coordinating and collaborating with them. Our scope is actually within the streetscape itself. It isn't actually within the green spaces, Clive Memorial Square. So we will be doing what we can to meet SEPTED principles and ensuring that that's part of that safety and accessibility and our audit. But as far as dealing directly with the homeless, we have other teams in our council who have been working with them.
Thank you.
Councillor Brown.
Kia ora, through the chair. Thank you for this, and I'm going to say if I say it now or in discussion later, but I just going to note that a lot of the concerns that we've already raised, they are the key outcomes that this project is trying to achieve. So I feel like we've got them covered in there. I just note in the project process that we were hoping to get this to us for the 12th of July. So we're just a couple of weeks late there. So wondering, and then I suppose the roadmap stops. So just wondering, like, what's next? Do we have a timeline going forward? And are we at risk of missing our timelines?
So, yes, we have had to delay bringing this paper to you because of the 3-year plan deliberations. So that has meant that we've pushed, we've got an extra 5 weeks on our program. However, if you are endorsing and approving the concept design today, then we will be moving straight into detail and develop design. Our intent is that we would be starting construction in April next year. We need to make sure that we don't, we're not part of that window around our tourist season. So, and stage 1 is the piece between Clive Memorial Square, which we call the ZIP. So the impact on retailers is very minimal for stage 1.
And supplementary.
Councillor Brown?
Just, can we see that roadmap? Can that come back to us in
Absolutely,
just
yes.
in a memo form or short?
Yep. Could we note that as an action in the minutes? Are you happy to circulate that outside of meeting structure?
Yes, I can.
Yep. Thank you, George. Councillor Crystal.
Through the chair, just in the ZIP, are any significant trees being removed there? No heritage, none of the heritage trees?
No, as Joe mentioned, we've been working to the conservation plan and heritage items that have been identified by Elizabeth Verschief.
Yeah.
There's also notable trees in there, so all of those items are protected, and we won't be touching those.
Okay, I'm not seeing any further questions. Just capturing the conversation around, I wonder if it would be helpful if our resolution included a note that detailed design will include a universal design review, a local heritage review, further workshops with elected members, consultation with the RSA, and an emergency services traffic review, I think were the key themes that I picked up from that conversation. Is that fair to say that's the intended plan?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. If that is the case, I'm happy to open for a motion if there is anyone who'd be interested. Councillor Crown, are you happy with that note?
I am. I'm more comfortable now with the note. Thank you. I think.
Thank you. So we have a mover with Councillor Crown and a seconder with Councillor Brown. I will pass to you, Councillor Crown, to speak to the motion.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Mayor Brosnan. I think the adjustment to the resolution is really fitting. I think the level of questioning that we've had this morning just shows how important it is to us to get this right, and I'm sure that that's shared by our staff, our council officers as well. This is a really important part of our city, and having that, I suppose, that level of oversight and involvement is appropriate for us. And the plans that we're endorsing today, I do think that they speak for themselves as to the key motivations for this level of public investment, as you questioned before, Councillor Bogue, about in this space which is open to all of our residents and visitors to our city. Underpinned by infrastructure and environmental resilience to climate, it also provides security, economic, cultural and social benefits, making it a truly multi-layered project that is needed in the growth and development of Napier. And while a keen eye needs to remain on the budget throughout the project, I do want us to also remain mindful of the impact of business interruption as we embark on the different stages of the project. We need to do everything we can to mitigate unintended consequences to those in the CBD, and to look to learn from some of the examples nationally where this has perhaps not been managed as well as it could have been. The report included an outline of the project governance setup. I think that's been confirmed further via the note and the changes to the resolution. And I think that will really provide key mechanism for identifying, designing and implementing required mitigations along the way. So just congratulations to our staff who have led the project to this milestone. I'm really excited to see us move forward.
Thank you, Councillor Crown. Option on the seconder?
Happy to reserve.
Reserved. Councillor Gregg.
Through the chair, may I make just a comment?
Of course.
Yeah, so thank you for the report. It's really exciting. This whole project is just amazing. I love it. It's great to see this design minimising the impact of cars on the space. It's a safe space for people that prioritises pedestrians and makes Emerson Street much safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg. Councillor Crystal.
I do have concerns about this project, but I will be speaking in favour. And my concerns are that, for me, like Councillor McGrath, it was a little bit of a war memorial moment because Art Deco is Napier's point of difference, and no one else has what we have. And we need to embrace that in our city because it's what brings in thousands of visitors and millions of dollars. And we don't want to detract from that. We want to, or hide it behind trees, or people can't take photos, all the things that people come here to see. It is a form of art in itself, and we don't want other forms of art in the street that will detract from that. I think that's something people don't realise, that the buildings are the art. So as governors in the space, we are guardians of the city, and we need to remember that what is created in Emerson Street and the Marine Parade can be something wonderful, or it could be something that we're remembered as destroying. So we need to do this right. And so I'm happy that we've included the people that need to be involved in this, and that will come back to us with some of the furniture and things that are put in there, because frankly sitting on a concrete circle seat does not appeal to me. I'm sure it doesn't appeal to many people in Napier. So that's kind of that's me.
Thank you, Councillor Crystal. I have had 3 speakers, so I'll pass back to our reserve seconder if there's any comment you'd like to make.
Yeah, through the chair. I think this looks really great for where we're at this process of design. The functionality of the space ticks all of our key objectives. And I think just listening to the conversation, I'm really quite heartened by the fact that the concerns that are raised here today are reflected in the key outcomes that we've put in. So we're not raising any new principles. They're already what we've briefed our staff to go away and do. And I'm hearing a lot of triggering, but really it's the fact that we've learnt from an experience with the War Memorial. And I think it's important for us to remember too that our staff have been on that journey with us. They've learnt from that experience too. So I think we're all on the same team in this, and it's about, putting doing the best job that we can for the city. And I think it's an exciting project, and it's got a lot of really important improvements that it'll make for our city. So thank you. And I also think there's a lot of pragmatism in the design that we're doing. There's a lot more that we could be doing, but through the design you've been able to minimise costs for the ratepayers but come up with something that looks quite beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. There is an option of right of reply, Councillor Crown, if you would like. No. If there are no further speakers, I will put the motion, which is the officer's recommendation plus the additional notes. So all those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Thank you. And noting Councillor Simpson's aye. Right, that brings us to the close. Thank you, team, to the close of our meeting. So if we could all stand for our closing karakia. Kia tau, te rangamarie, ki runga i ngā iwi katoa. Kia piki te ora, te kaha, me te maramatanga, i ngā wā katoa, ti hei mauri ora.